Hello, my name is Lysa Black. I'm a heart healer and I'm highly sensitive. I feel very deeply. I react very strongly to experiences that occur outside and around me. Very sensitive to sound, I'm very sensitive to other people's behavior, and this training is really dedicated to the mothers and the fathers of highly sensitive children. I've had a request come through from somebody whose child is exhibiting potential behaviors of a highly sensitive child. And the parent is really quite concerned about how to actually lovingly respond to what they're seeing in the child in a way that will be supportive and nurturing for this child. What's very interesting is that if you've been drawn to watch this training, I really want you to ask yourself if you are highly sensitive. The purpose of this training will be to help you really clarify for yourself, am I a highly sensitive person? Next would be, is my child highly sensitive? And if they are, I'm going to be suggesting 3 ways that you can slightly alter how you approach and behave around your child to be able to support them to flourish with their gift. It's very important for me to express that high sensitivity is an incredible gift. Basically, I believe that we feel very deeply, which allows us to love very deeply. It also means that it feels like a curse. It can feel like suffering to be able to acutely be so aware of so much information that we often become overwhelmed. We often shy away from social situations, crowds, and we often believe that our emotional reactions are over the top, that it is dramatic, or that it is somehow unacceptable, reflecting that we are broken or that there's something wrong with us. My personal belief is that those who have a high level of sensitivity actually have an awareness and connection with subtle information that's incredibly precious, that gives us a capacity to truly reach and connect with other people and truly perceive what's actually going on in their experience. This is very, very close to my heart because I've had many women that have been drawn to do heart healing work with this in order to heal the patterns from their own experience of parenting, from their families, so that they can heal their own hearts and actually allow themselves to show up in the way that they wish that their parents had when they were young. This is a really big motivation for many mothers to have heart healing sessions, to give them the capacity to truly show up, receive their precious children in a way that will support them to thrive and really grow into beautiful human beings. So the question is, are you highly sensitive? If you've been drawn to watch this training with me, I really want you to reflect on a few questions. If you're highly sensitive, you basically will feel all of your feelings incredibly intensely. If you recognize that when you feel very deeply and it moves all through your body, and you find that there's some people and situations that literally have to physically move yourself away from in order to be okay, you are highly sensitive. If you find that other people judge you as being too sensitive or too delicate or too dramatic, these are often signs that we're really not responding to social situations as is expected or as is common. Often judgments attached for highly sensitive people that are really unhelpful. The truth is that our perception opens us up to be able to feel in and discern a higher volume and an acute awareness of information that other people may not even be conscious of. Now, this is absolutely a gift. The way that I like to describe it is that we feel deeply so that we can love deeply. Although there's a certain way that we need to support ourselves with boundaries and self-care and being incredibly gentle so that we don't disrupt and turn our gentle, delicate system into something that's brittle and fragile. When we are incredibly stressed and tensed, we revert to very primal behaviors, incessant crying, exaggerated emotion, controlling behavior. Really, you'll see this within yourself when you're under a great deal of stress, and you'll see this in the child. If your child is highly sensitive, you'll really see them exaggerate their emotion and their behavior to really represent how intensely they are feeling when this child is normally a very very soft-spoken, delicate child. So reflect and really feel within yourself and go, do I feel like I'm highly sensitive? Would I describe myself as being a highly sensitive person? And if you've been drawn to this training, and if you can resonate with what you can hear me saying, I would suggest you are. Is my child highly sensitive? Remember, not only are we keenly aware of subtle emotional, psychic and psychological information as highly sensitive, it also means that we're highly sensitive to light, to sound, and to our environment at large. So if you have a child that is really wanting to withdraw, that's really wanting to pull away from maybe social experiences or school experiences, community experiences that their peers are finding fun and enjoyable, they're really retracting from experiences like that, you can really recognize there is a high level of sensitivity. There's definitely children that are more sensitive than others, although what I'm going to bring forward as suggestions will be applicable to all. The common behaviours that we're going to see in a child that's highly sensitive is a lot of crying. I was blessed with a little girl, my second baby was a girl, and she's now 3.5, and she's incredibly sensitive. So even just in the last week, we've seen some behaviour from her where she feels her feelings very deep. Sometimes we can talk to our children and say, are you feeling really big feelings? And they're almost going to sob or cry as they say yes. They feel like they fill up their whole world. It's like their feelings become too big for their bodies, and it's literally incredibly tiring for these precious little children to be feeling so deeply. They will be doing a lot of crying. My little girl probably cries multiple times every day. I really want to disclose and be transparent that as a highly sensitive adult, I cry every day as well. There'll be multiple situations where I cry, and this could be seen as a weakness, it could be seen as a vulnerability. Personally, I see this as a gift. It allows me to feel deeply and access information that other people are not privy to. The other thing we're going to be seeing in our children is they're incredibly attached. They'll be like, mummy, mummy, I want cuddles, hold me, be close to me. They're really looking for protection, really looking for someone that they can feel safe with, someone that they can be assured loves them and cares for them. There is kind of an acuteness to what they feel. So when they cry, they really cry with a depth of sorrow, a real depth of sadness. When they're angry, they're kind of really ruthless and they become very, very physical and very expressive, screaming and yelling when they're angry. When they are feeling afraid, they will probably shake, or that the feelings that we all experience are felt incredibly acutely. So if your child is crying a lot, really, really attached, really wanting a lot of your time, energy, and attention, and you can see that they're feeling their feelings very, very deeply, you have a highly sensitive child. Now, the most important thing to understand is that when it comes to parenting our children, there's so much of our own experience with how we were parented when we were young that actually affects our perception of our own children and our own capacity to parent. I personally don't choose to work with children, although I have and I can. It's very easy to be able to work with children, but my work is focused on the mothers. Is that it's the mothers and the fathers that truly have the best capacity to truly reach their children. So the guidance that I'm going to bring forward, I hope will be healing and supportive for you individually if you're a highly sensitive person. If not, that will still be really valuable for your child. But also recognize that how you were parented will be affecting how you're parenting your own child and the perception that you have of us as a good gift. The most important thing that you can do for a highly sensitive child is honor their feelings. And what I mean when I say that is even acknowledging them and bringing awareness to them are actually incredibly helpful, because these children are feeling everything so deeply. It's actually really scary to feel something so strong. When it feels like those feelings are just so big, they don't really know what to do. So being able to, as a parent, lovingly show up with them and go, are you feeling really angry? looks to me like you're feeling really bad. Do you feel sad right now? Really helping them to name and describe their feelings will actually create a pivotal shift in these children. Because when they can actually connect with what's actually within them, it's incredibly grounding and confidence. That's a really powerful first step. The next one is to be able to really allow them to be that feeling. This is probably the most difficult, and the one where our own conditioning and our own experience of parenting will actually be affecting our own perception and our own capacity to receive and be with the child in their own emotional state. Very often, as highly sensitive individuals, we were told to shut up, stop crying, suck it up. I'm finding it really hard to say these statements because I heard them a lot, and no doubt you did as well. We were basically told to stop feeling. Now, the reason why this is so problematic with highly sensitive children is that they can't. They cannot stop feeling, and by actually telling them to stop feeling, what you're asking them to do is disconnect from themselves. Now, I'm not going to go into why that's problematic. I'm sure you can perceive it for the sake of this training. I really want you to know that helping them to be with their feelings is the most loving and nurturing thing. Very scary as a parent to try and be with your child when they're feeling so deeply, because it will actually trigger and make feelings arise within you. The best thing that you can do for a highly sensitive child is be deeply connected to your own feelings. What we don't want is a parent who's disconnected from their own feelings, trying to help a child be with their feelings while being frightened of their own children are going to trigger an emotional reaction. The best thing that you can do for your child is really practice being present, acknowledging, and being aware of your emotional state. Oh, I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling jealous. I'm feeling lost. I'm feeling alone. I'm feeling afraid. The more you can acknowledge your feelings in the moment, and no one ever thinks that this advice is ever going to help them, let me assure you. But as you are actually following your heart and seeing if this resonates with you, practicing this alone is incredibly powerful, because as we create a new relationship with our own feelings, we're actually capable of having a presence around our own children who don't fear being triggered. What that allows us to do is it allows us to actually focus on their internal world instead of being in a fear-based position where we think that their internal world might infect or affect or disrupt our own emotional world, which was why our parents told us to be quiet when we were younger, because it actually brought up stuff for them. In this day and age, we're recognizing that really shutting down feelings is very destructive for being able to be thriving, whole, functional people that can live and express themselves from a place of connection. So, honoring the feelings within your children is the most powerful thing that you can do for a highly sensitive child. The second point of advice that I really want to bring forward for you to see if it resonates with me is that the best thing you can do is to be able to see them in their truth. So what do I mean by this? To make it very simple, being able to see them in their truth comes from a place of being able to see yourself in your truth. So I once believed that I was unlovable, I was unworthy, and that there was something wrong with me. And the more I allowed the truth of who I was to be able to come back into my remembrance, I could come from a place as a parent where I remember that I'm loved, where I remember that I'm here to grow, and where I remember that I'm here to nurture and love. Now, none of those beliefs might resonate for you, but I know that there will be something that you can really feel into. I am light, I am eternal, I am dedicated to parenting a child. Anything that you can really cling to that is a belief that is strong for you will be really powerful to bring to the situation. What I love doing is being able to see my daughter in her truth. So what happens is as we see their behavior escalate, they're really screaming or they're throwing things or they're really yelling, what can happen is that we start to judge them, and we start to see them as naughty children, and we start to see them as being maybe damaged children or problematic children. It's really, really important to be able to see them as pure souls that are feeling really deeply, that are often scared and confused. What I love doing is my little girl is very, very cheeky. She's very fun. She loves to make jokes. But it can actually look like she's being disobedient, and it can look like she's actually trying to disrupt the situation and actually create problems. As I see that behavior and I'm tempted to judge it, I really hold that back and remember that she's such a fun-loving, cheeky little girl. And I actually get in on the game. And it's a really powerful way to diffuse some of this behavior. Because as we judge their behavior as bad, we're actually asking them to show up as bad children. I want to do a whole other training on this, but for the sake of this, the expectations that we have of the people in front of us are actually fulfilled by our requests through our expectation. That as I expect to see a pure, joyful, playful, cheeky little girl who loves to have fun, that's how she appears to me. So this second point is to really own your truth and really acknowledge their truth. Who are they on a soul level? What do they need? What do they want? See them as that. And even as their behavior looks like it could be problematic for you, really allow yourself to hold them in love as you see the intention behind their behavior. Feed into that intention and you'll see total shift in their behavior. The last point is it's so important to be able to recognize that these little children are not used to this world. You will have at least a few decades of being acclimatized to the social conditioning, to the expectations, to all the ways that we've been taught that we need to be. Highly sensitive children are non-conformist. They have very, very crucial needs that they are committed to having met, that they will really react very strongly if you're not accommodating to their needs. Now, this is kind of seen as being fun or seen as being problematic. And it's really important to be able to honor that these children are doing the very best that they can to actually exist in a world that's very foreign to them. I personally believe that we existed in a state of pure love, peace, harmony, a place where growth was far more resistant-free and duality-free, so that when these children actually come down and experience this world, it's actually very confronting. There's a strong contrasting duality present. It's a very, very big deal for them. It's really important to be able to acknowledge that they're not used to being in this world as much as you are. So really, when they ask for something that they need, really recognize that they're doing their very best to help provide for themselves. And that as we can be as accommodating as is humanly possible as a parent, that we're actually doing our best to support our children to support themselves. I really hope that this has been insightful. I hope that there's been something here that's been able to reach you and how you relate to yourself as a highly sensitive person, or how you're able to relate to your child as a highly sensitive child. I hope that something here is worth playing with, that you can experiment for yourself and really intuitively adjust it for the conditions that you're experiencing right now. Find new ways of responding and nurturing your precious child. I promise that even doing this for one day will show up completely different results with your precious child. If there is any guilt whatsoever with yourself about your parenting, I really want to say my blessings and recognize that no matter what has happened, today and now, 1 minute of love can do so much for no matter how much fear-based, not knowing has been showing up in your parenting or the way that you've related to your child. It's really important to know that it doesn't matter how old they are or how old you are. There's always time to be able to show up and learn new ways to be able to be with sensitivity so that it can be nurtured and it can be encouraged. It's my hope that this brings more peace, more harmony, and more love into your world. Thank you so much for being here with me. If you have any questions, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Email me at lysa@heartmagic.co.nz.